back for part 2 with our special guest, Zach Brittle. Just like last time, he is amazing and has incredible stories to share that will help you see in simple ways how you can take your relationship to the next level in your marriage as well as your parenting. His approach is so fresh and unique. I know you're going to love it. So stay tuned. My husband has a family with 7 siblings. I have a family also. There's 7 of us. And so just looking at how we all respond to trauma and how it's so different. So I've been fascinated by that concept too. And I'm so glad that you brought it up. I'm sure you see a lot of that with your clients too.
The thing that I'm not super comfortable with trauma work. Like I'm not, again, it's just why I'm more of a couples therapist than an individual therapist, but people have some shame around it. And I get that. But for me, I end up saying, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's kind of like being raised in a home where everybody had a Southern accent. And now you also have a Southern accent. Or you got injured when you were in a car accident in the 4th grade. And now, like when the weather turns toward the winter, you have arthritis. You have an achy feeling in your knee. That's not your fault, but it is real. And you have to deal with that reality, which you can either ignore and just have a Southern accent, which is fine in certain places, and it will keep you from getting a news anchor job in other places. Or you could ignore the pain in your knee and try to run marathons, which is fine. You can do that. It's just going to be harder unless you do the rehab work, unless you do the work of figuring out how these things matter in your adult life.
You probably see this as well with clients, but you know how there's some that don't want to acknowledge any of that. And it's very invalidating to themselves that they're lacking empathy for themselves. They don't even want to go there. And then on the other side, you have this group of people that like all they want to talk about is the trauma and they're saying like stuck in it and just that victim mentality. Could you speak to those sides a little bit and how you help your couples in those roles?
Yeah. I think the interesting thing about doing trauma work with couples is that I can take over. If you and your husband were in my office and I was working with you about your trauma, you and I would have a very sober conversation where I lent you my prefrontal cortex and he would just get to watch and he would get to decide like if he wants to participate as a collaborator or as a victim or as somebody who's a little more righteous about, oh yeah, I'm glad finally somebody's seeing the problems in Kendra, like that he, whatever. And couples work doesn't, at least in the way I think about it, I'm not going to go super deep into your story because I want people who are more skilled to be able to do that with you. But what I also want is for the relationship to be able to bear that this thing is workable, that you can work around the trauma. It's not an excuse for bad behavior. It's also not a indictment on the rest of your life. It is a thing that needs to be cared for in a thoughtful way. And sometimes people who are unskilled because they're not therapists or because they have their own trauma or whatever, until they see an example of that, they don't have any concept of how to model it for themselves. I told you about the guy who was in my office this weekend, up and screaming and yelling, and it's clear that's how he tries to move through his relationship. He actually left the appointment early. He stormed out. So I had about 20 minutes with his partner, and I just said to her, was it helpful for you to see me interact with him? Was it helpful for you to see me model how? Because I said to him at one point, you know what? I appreciate that you got a lot going on. You can't talk to me like that. I'm not going to be spoken to like that, especially in my own office. And he tried to make the rules and here's what we're going to do for the next 15 minutes. I go, actually, no, this is my office and I make the rules in my office. And she was like, oh my God, that was so refreshing. I didn't know you could hold a boundary without losing your shit yourself. And so it's not quite a direct story, but like when people don't know that there's a way that you can respond that's not out of trauma, therapy or reflection or listening to podcasts like yours can help people gain access to options, which they, again, you got these two guys, CEO, guy living under a bridge. I have no choice. I have no choice. That's not true. You have choice. You just might not know what those choices are until you figure it out, until you get somebody
Yeah.
to show you.
I love it when people share stories because it helps us learn so much more than just talking facts. But there's so much of it is like that modeling aspect. And I just think about my own clients, how they appreciate even just me role playing, how it could look. And they're like, huh, I hadn't really thought about that.
I love role playing with clients. I
Oh,
absolutely
yeah.
love it. They're like, what if he says this? I go, okay, let's do it. You be him, I'll be you. I'll be healthy you for the next. And it's funny because you stay healthy, you choke out the lack of health. Like you take the oxygen out of it. It doesn't have anywhere to go. Because if you're like, you did it, I go, yeah, I know. And then the such, it must be a real drag for you. But you also, it just seems like I know, and I'd love to have that conversation. Okay, and you choke out the escalation when you don't meet it, and I love it. So,
Would you mind just like being there when there's any disagreement with my husband so you can just remind me of that
yeah,
stuff?
100%. I'll do it right now. You guys have a boring argument, right? You have the argument that you have over and over again. Same argument, doesn't matter what the topic is.
Yes. Let me think here.
You know how it goes.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
does this, you do
Yeah.
that, then this happens. You can hear the
Yeah.
sound of it. That's your boring argument. And
Yeah.
it's the role of choice to say, hey, I'm going to change the tempo here. I'm going to change the track. And you can change it in ways that make the relationship worse. And a lot of people have real easy access to that. I sure did before I got sober. Or you can change it in ways that make it better. And
Yeah.
I'll do it with you right now if you want to model your own boring argument, but I love it.
Yeah. Actually, let's do it. Because, like I said, stories, role playing,
Going to be your husband,
whichever one would make more sense. Yes. I'll be my husband.
and I'll be healthy you.
Yes.
Okay.
The boring thing, help me clarify this a little bit. He's pretty forgetful and struggles with remembering things.
Okay.
And I just get really frustrated that I'm like constantly
So
feeling like
he's
I'm reminding him things.
okay. So he forgot to pick up milk at the store.
Yeah, we don't even try that. So we're gonna say coming home on time for dinner.
Okay. He didn't come home on time for dinner. And
Yeah.
then what do you usually do when he comes home late for dinner? What do you do?
I am a little bit tense, quiet, and just a little bit cold at the table while we're all
So
sitting there.
he comes home, you're at the table,
Hmm.
and he comes in late. He like comes in, drops his bag,
Uh-huh.
and you guys are at the table, and you're like hot about that
Yeah.
already inside your body. You're like, I'm pissed about this right now.
Yeah.
Okay. He sits down at the table, and now you be him.
Okay. Sorry, babe. I had a client. I lost track of time. Sorry, I'm late again.
Yeah. Okay. No problem. Here, how's your food? Did you want some meatloaf? Let's keep going.
Yeah. Right now, he's probably speechless himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. What was this story with your client? Are you okay?
Yeah. Just, you know how it is. It went a little later and then I had to do notes and it takes me a while to do notes and I just lost track of time.
Yeah,
And
totally get it. It's that thing again, because time is hard for us and it's hard for me right now because we've been having dinner. But the meatloaf is amazing. I'm glad you like it. And we should talk some more later about whether or not this is going to keep happening.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it. I appreciate you just.
Cool. Hey, would you pass me
Yeah.
the salt and pepper?
Oh, yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way I talk about it is you have to earn the right to say the thing that's upsetting you. And if you come in hot, if you're like, oh, hi. Yeah. There's your meatloaf. It's probably cold. He has to get defensive. That is the only move he has because you have said you are the problem. And he is going to go, oh, am I the problem? And again, I don't know you or your husband, so maybe I didn't role play, but with my clients, I know by now what their story is. And then I always say this, look, this is easy for me. Number one, I've got a ton of practice. Number two, I have no stake in the game. Like I can role play with you all day long because it doesn't cost me anything. I could literally say anything I want. I have to give you that gift and say, there may be other things that you're upset about. Maybe it's the 100th time he's been late. Maybe there's a unwritten rule. Who knows? But like, you still always 100% of the time have a chance to make a choice that makes the relationship better.
Yeah.
You do?
Zach, I'm not gonna lie. That's hard for all of us. We know
Yep.
this is hard for clients. We know it's hard personally to
Right.
not respond when they've done something that affects the entire family. You're in your mind thinking about throat punching them. You're not actually
Right.
gonna do it. Like, you're so activated. And
Yeah.
how do you do this? Put that smile, doesn't feel
Yeah.
fake. I don't know. How do you do it?
Listen, it takes practice, because everything you know how to do because you practiced. Speaking, walking, cooking, playing pickleball, every single thing you know how to do, including getting angry and hot under the collar. You got a lot of practice because you never took the time to do the hard thing, which was to go, what if I didn't get angry here? What
Yeah.
if I stayed calm? What if I didn't get resentful? And to speak to resentment, which you asked about, I love talking about resentment. I love it. It is the centerpiece of my recovery process, grappling with my own relationship with resentment. And without going into a ton of detail, what I can tell you is the lesson I learned was that when resentful, the best way for me out of that is to own my own part. And a very short version of a long story that I tell is I ended up writing an amends letter to my middle school bully, a guy who objectively terrified me, made my life worse, took my money, beat me up, made me feel small for years of my life. And I made amends to him. And the reason I did it is because my resentment toward him was overwhelming. It was keeping me from being able to recover. And one of the things I said was, I'm really sorry I never punched you in the throat, because I empowered him to continue to terrorize me. I didn't do him any favors. He's still a bully. 52 years old. I go on his Facebook page. He's still terrorizing people. And I did that to him. So when I owned that for him, I wasn't mad at him anymore. Like, so that's an extreme case. It's a kind of an extreme case of, but 100% of the time you can own your part. You could even say at the dinner table, look, what's your husband's name?
Joel.
Look, Joel, I'm so glad you're here. And I'm going to need a minute to just take a few deep breaths, because I'm not doing a great job right now managing the part of me that's disappointed about this pattern. So I'm going to try not to take it out on you, but because I still have some growing to do. But yeah, I'm pretty frustrated.
And do you say that like around your kids, or do you say it privately?
Sure. Why wouldn't you? You're modeling for them how to actually grapple with their disappointment. It's better than you going, hi, here's your cold meatloaf. Guess we're doing this again. Then they're going to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I love it. I love your stories. I love you talking about making amends to your bully, which is, like you said, an extreme case. And it like takes the power away and allows you to let go of those resentments. Do you mind sharing something similar, even if it's just hypothetical, of how you could do that with a typical problem in couples counseling?
I'll tell you one more story about something that really happened with Rebecca and I. Rebecca's my wife. She asked me to pause a television show that we were going to watch together because a friend had shown up at the door. And I was like, no problem, pause. And then she kept talking to the friend, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I was getting hot. I was so angry. I was so mad. She came down and I did what you might do at the kitchen table. I was like, what's wrong with you? I go, what do you mean what's wrong with me? I've been waiting for a half hour for you to watch this show. And I was acting like a little bitch. And she went back up to her friend and said, hey, so tell me about your trip to Ireland. Heard me, and then went back and stayed with her friend. And I was really angry. She came back down, watched the show. We didn't enjoy it together, went to bed. I went to work the next day. I spent a lot of time thinking about it. And what I came to was a story in my own life about when I was younger in middle school, and my dad moved out of our house and he was gone for an undetermined amount of time. I actually don't have a clear memory of how long he was gone. Could have been a week, could have been 90 days. I do not remember. But I do remember that period of time cost me a lot when it came to like needing to know about time. This is the bottom line. If Rebecca had said, could you pause the show? I'll be there in a half hour. I'll be there in 30 minutes, 6 words. would have changed my whole thing. I would have done the crossword, folded some laundry, watched a different show. Maybe who cares? I would not have cared. But she didn't. She left that out. So I built all this resentment up toward her because she was a good friend to her friend that dropped by. She didn't do anything wrong, but I definitely made her feel bad, like about it. And I had to own that for her. The next day I said, hey, I just need to talk to you about two things. Number one, the thing that happened yesterday didn't work for me. I didn't like it. First thing I said was, number one, the thing that happened today, you didn't do anything wrong. You did not do anything wrong. Number two, I didn't like it. It really bugged me. It bugged me a lot. And here's why it bugged me a lot. And here's what that's about. I told her the same story. So for me, here's an example of just like in a little flash of a pan, she was disrespectful to me. She was rude. She was the problem. And I made sure to feel that in all of its intensity and make her pay. I made sure to do that on that night while I was sitting there in front of the paused TV show. And I was in the wrong because I had other choices. One of those choices was to go, hey, Zach, this lady who loves you isn't your dad. Also, she's a really good friend. And you're a grown ass man. You can do other things with your time. And the kicker for me was appreciating that 6 words would have changed the whole thing.
Yeah.
6 words. So I just asked her, I said, can I just get those 6 words? If you can, in the future, you just give me those 6 words. I don't even need you to not talk to your friend or even make me wait a half hour. I just need to know that it's going to be a half hour. And so from there, we were able to negotiate. And now she's really good at it. Last night, she told me she was going to be home at like 8 or something. And I actually got distracted by a show I was watching. And then at 9 o'clock, she texted me and she was like, I'm so sorry. Totally lost track of time. I will be home in 10 minutes. And that was her responding to my need for time, even though last night wasn't an issue, but she's definitely responding in a way that I can be grateful for. And so that's how I deal with resentment is I climb inside and I go, what part of this is me? It has nothing to do with her. And it brings me back to choice.
Yeah. I love that simple question that we can ask. What part of this is me? And taking ownership of that. Even with that bully, like you didn't punch him in the face. Takes a lot of humility and a lot, like you said, a lot of practice.
Here's the thing about Joel, right? Like Joel, maybe he doesn't have a really good, healthy relationship with time, but what he did was he stayed at work, he cared about his clients, he did the responsible thing to take good notes, and he came home and he showed up and he tried to be present. And that just didn't work for you. And maybe there were 6 words that would have helped. Hey, I dropped the ball again. I love you. I'll be there in a second. Whatever those 6 were. Who knows? But he didn't do anything wrong. He's just bad at time. And you, for some reason, care a lot about time or convenience or warm food or something. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely.
But
All
that's
the
not right. That's not right or wrong. It just is. And we have to deal with what is in our relationships. And I think the best thing we can do for our kids is deal with what is in a way that is healthy and responsible and models for them the choices that they have.
Another question about kid, maybe to wrap it up. This might be a loaded one. So I just had a kid go to college, been married. My husband and I have been married for 20 years. And we're starting to see as our kids are getting older, more like that glimpse in that to that future self, thinking about having that conversation with me at 72 or whatever, and recognizing, oh, this might be a wedge later on. Maybe this is a problem now, how I respond to them. Maybe they're getting resentful of certain things I do. How do you course correct while they're still at home or deepen that relationship with them when you feel like, oh, shoot, maybe some of this is going to be hard to come back from?
Man, I hope we're getting it right. We were clear about 10 years ago that our parenting goal was to make sure that we were in healthy relationships with our adult children. Like we want to do Christmas and Thanksgiving and summer vacations in our 60s and 70s and 80s with them and their families. That is not a reality for us with our parents, at least not a version of our parents. So we knew that's what we wanted to do. And so we started to prioritize what was the path to that. The first thing for each of us was recovery, both of us from alcoholism. That was a really critical piece of the puzzle. If you ask anybody in our house what we're good at as a family, we will say repair. All 4 of us will say we're good at repair. because we're all hotheads. We have very strong personalities. We're all really different and feel strongly about the stuff we feel strongly about. We're at each other's throats a lot. Like, I'm about to send my daughter in Paris a text. She's traveling right now about something, and she's going to get mad about it. I know she is. So I'm going to tee it up and tell her, I don't want you to get mad about this, but this is some information that you need. She's going to get mad about it, and we're going to be fine. It's going to suck for half a day. And then she's going to come back and say, all right, thanks for that. I got it. Here we go. So the only thing I can say is kids don't need the absence of conflict. They need the presence of repair. They don't need the absence of disharmony. They need to see what happens after disharmony. And I think in general, we're all playing the long game. So that's my 2 cents about parenting.
But kids don't need the absence of conflict. They need
the presence of repair.
That is so good.
And so if you're upset with your husband at the dinner table, they don't need to not see that. They need to see you handle that upsetness in a way that is thoughtful and generative and that invites intimacy. Because that's the result of healthy conflict, is more intimacy.
Yeah.
That's why we like makeup sex so much.
And let's be honest, a lot of us generationally, our parents, grandparents, they weren't taught about emotional intelligence and repair and all that. It's just shoving it down. So most likely for both you, your partner, it wasn't modeled very well for you growing up. So I think about how you're telling me this, and my husband is actually quite good at it because he honestly learned from maybe not the best examples and teaching me about repair. And I'm learning like later in life, and you do see that same thing, exactly what you're saying. Like, yeah, I do want that. I want to make sure that my kids are with me for all the holidays. And are sometimes the holidays tense? Have I taken too much on? Am I too much of a perfectionist? Is my husband late for something? Or, whoever's part it is, like, can we make amends? Can we repair? And can we normalize that? Yeah, we're all very different. There's going to be things that come up. There's going to be irritations and frustrations. And how do we manage that? And it just takes away the shame and makes it feel like it's possible through conversations, through modeling. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I don't. I think, again, we have, this is why I say we've been happily married for 25 out of 28 years, because there's no illusions that somehow a happy marriage is even the goal. It might not be possible, and it maybe isn't even the goal, but I think healthy is. And healthy only comes from injury followed by rehab, or like things get stronger when they're broken and then they're rehab. That's actually how the human body works. That's how I think about relationships. I just don't, again, slow and steady wins the race most of the time.
Yeah. You had so many wonderful things that you shared. I love your stories. I love your role playing. And with all of that, do you have any final thoughts? And also, can you share where we can find you?
You can find me on the internet. Like, the internet is, you type my first name, Zach, my last name, Brittle, like fragile. And then Marriage Therapy Radio is available every week. I've got a couple books out there in the world. ZachBrittle.com is my practice. I'm based in Seattle. And I don't know, final thoughts. I usually just tell my clients, like, nothing changes if nothing changes. So we got to figure out what you're interested in changing, and then we start doing that work.
So good. The ownership piece is just beautiful in that. And what part of this is me?
Yeah.
And that's a great space to end. So thanks again, Zach, for coming on the show. We appreciate having you.
Yeah, no, I'm grateful to be here. And if I can be of value to you and or Joel and or anybody listening, just let me know and I'll be happy to do it.
All right. Thank you. Hey, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Zach was an incredible guest, and part 2 will be available immediately, so check it out. Also, don't forget to email us at hello@fulfillmenttherapy.org if you have any coaching questions, or if you would like to be on the podcast, and if you're stuck in any way in your parenting, in your relationships, and otherwise, and you want that extra help and coaching, we'd love to have you as a guest on the podcast to break that down and reach that greater fulfillment and find ways to flourish yourself and your marriage and your parenting and individually. That's a new thing we're offering in 2026 and beyond. by popular demand. So reach out to us so you can be a guest on our show. Thanks again for all you do to share our episodes, and check out our new courses on fulfillmenttherapy.org. I'll see you back for the next episode. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Just a reminder to check out our courses on fulfillmenttherapy.org. We have 3 courses on how to help you build your own online business and podcast. And we have 3 courses to improve your mental health and wellness to help you thrive individually, in parenting, and as a couple. They're very affordable and self-paced, so check it out now. As always, we'll see you back here on Mondays with new episodes. Until then.